Hello again, my name's Ed Nichols, and I've been speaking to you over the last weeks in this series of broadcasts which are entitled Here and Now. And this Here and Now, as we've been saying, is a service that we're offering to residents in the Gateshead communities. And it's this kind of here, and of course now is like immediately. And the reason for the service, as I've explained, is this, that often, particularly in the times of the pandemic situation, we find ourselves needing to talk. Some people are quite isolated, even people who are usually very busy and, at work and things, even they have been speaking to me recently and saying, we're isolated. Life's very different, we're on our own, and of course in isolation we are unable to speak as freely as we once did. So this Here and Now service is giving us an opportunity to speak and to be listened to. The service is a listening service, so it's inviting people who need to get things off their chest, people who are perhaps getting low and depressed and lonely, and perhaps even worse than that, giving them an opportunity to talk and to be listened to by people who are sensitive and compassionate. And basically that can be done by a variety of means. It can be done by contacting me by telephone. Ed Nichols it is on 0191 460 4567, or by email ed.nichols NICHOLS @live.com. And if you use either of those means of contact, then we can fix up either a face-to-face with a male or female listener, or we can arrange through the wonders of technology a Zoom meeting, an opportunity for you to talk yourself out and to be listened to. So don't feel that you're alone, that nobody wants to listen to you. Sometimes we can all feel like that, incidentally, even if we're in generally loving homes, we can get like that. I heard a case of a young man with a couple of children, a young family, and basically got himself in a dreadful condition, even though it seemed he was surrounded by a loving wife and caring family, and yet he just couldn't speak it off, couldn't talk and couldn't get listened to, and the result was tragic. So I'm not trying to say that's the same for all of us, by the way, but it can happen. So if you need to talk, you can contact me on those numbers and that email address, and I will get back to you, and then we can fix up an opportunity for you to be listened to in whatever way is most comfortable to you. Always remember this, sometimes you can feel very alone and nobody cares, but it isn't true. People care more than you think. And I want to say to you that anything bad that happens to anyone in our community affects a lot of people in your community more than you know. Not just people who know you, but people who don't know you. It affects them. That if you think, oh, that was really awful, I didn't know about that, I wished I'd known, I could have done something. There are more people who care about you than you know. Always remember that. You're never alone. None of us is ever alone. No man is an island, and no woman is an island either. And so if you need that opportunity to speak, then we're here. This doesn't take away from perhaps any talking therapies that you might want to instigate with your local medical centres. In fact, if you have a problem with depression or anything worse, we always would encourage you to consult your medical centre and your GPs there. What we offer is, I suppose, an enhancement. In other words, often you can get talking therapies, but if you're needing to talk today, often you can't get them immediately. That's what we provide. a here and now service. And often you may need, various help from professionals, which we encourage incidentally. But if you kind of get them now and today you really feel, I need to talk today, then often we can bridge that gap and talk, allow you to talk and to be listened to immediately. So that's what it's all about. So I just want to speak to you a little bit tonight about extroverts and introverts. Now, you probably all know exactly what that means, An extrovert usually is somebody who is a lot more outward. So they have a confidence of speaking things out rather than keeping them in. They seem to have quite a large confidence. So, they're not shy and retiring. And they will, they won't be frightened to speak up and to speak out and to do things that quieter people wouldn't dream of doing. To be an extrovert is good, but to be an introvert is good, but to be an introvert is rather different, as you'll know. An introvert person is a lot more inward looking. They tend to be a lot more reticent, shy, quiet, and not as likely to speak out the things that are on their heart as the extrovert would. And so what I would just say to you tonight is, if you're an extrovert, and a lot of us are, and there's nothing wrong with that at all, I'm sure it's quite healthy in many ways, but let me say to us as a community and as people who are members of families and organisations and workplaces, in our extroversion, let's make sure that we're not doing all the talking, so that people who are quieter, more introvert, don't get an opportunity to speak up. I really feel for us all, and I'm learning that at my tender age. I'm learning this very much and needing to learn it, incidentally. Anyone who wants to be a caring person and who's an extrovert needs to learn to talk less and listen more. And that can be quite a challenge if you're an extrovert, but I want to encourage us to do that. If we're extroverts, to do that. Then it means that within our family situations, our wives, husbands, children, grandchildren, mothers, fathers, whoever, they will have an opportunity to say more. It doesn't mean that we shut up and become so quiet, that we don't speak. Obviously not. It's just a question of this principle. Don't only look on the things that you and I would want to say, but look out for the things that other people would want to say. There's a balance, isn't there? So if you're an extrovert, probably we err on the side of saying too much. And so we need to kind of pull all that we say, pull it in a bit, put it into some kind of constraint, which will allow then others around us to speak more. Now, if you're an introvert, I would encourage you to try to speak more. All the sociologists will tell you that if you're able to speak and to explain and to articulate the feelings that you have, particularly when they're not good feelings, there's a healing in that. It gets it out of your system. It allows you, in that expression, to really just pour out of yourself the things that, if you leave them in, they will accumulate and bring you into perhaps a low state of mental health, perhaps even into depression and worse. So if you're an introvert tonight, I want to encourage you to find the courage to speak more. You'll hear introverts say, oh, it doesn't matter what I say. Other people, will say it better or they'll say more. Let me say to all of you introverts, listen, what you have to say is very, very important. It may be that it's more of a challenge for you to speak, to explain your feelings, to be willing and to find the courage, incidentally, just to do it. Because if you introverts tend to be shy, so that they don't want to wear their heart on their sleeve. Can I encourage you, if you're an introvert, to try to wear your heart on your sleeve a lot more? Because you know what you feel, what you think, what you want to say is very, very important. So I suppose, in essence, extroverts, we need to zip more, so that others can speak more and we can listen more. And introverts, we need to find the courage to speak more and let others listen. Probably introverts, you've been doing an awful lot of listening while the extroverts have spoken. Well, it's your turn, introverts, to do the speaking and the extroverts to do the listening. Whether that's in your family, whether that's in your workplace, whether that is in your neighborhood, wherever you are, perhaps even in your shopping centers, you know. So this is what it's for. And let me just close with this. Sometimes it isn't that simple that, you know, the introverts can have extrovert tendencies and the extroverts can have introvert tendencies, so that basically it isn't quite that simple. But you get the general idea that basically we need just to look at ourselves and ask ourselves, am I basically introvert, basically extrovert? And then to take the appropriate action. And may I just close again in saying now, just think of a community, a family, and an organisation indeed, where people are being listened to, where they can always find somebody who will listen to them, and they can always have an opportunity to talk themselves out. I really feel that will make our workplaces, our homes, and our communities very, very pleasant, harmonious places to be. And so I just want to encourage you in these things. So, extroverts, it's time for us to zip up more. Introverts, it's time for us to speak up more. A very, very good evening to you all, and may we all get better at speaking and listening. Thank you. Good night.